lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.
Beyond. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 380. I am one of your hosts, Greg Miller. Alongside, he only does everything, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to be here with you, Greg.
It's good to be here. I miss you sometimes.
I know, I never see you ever.
Over here, the best beer in the business, in the never-rotating third chair, the one and only Marty Sleeva.
I did it. I came back.
Some said it was impossible.
I know. I don't think I've ever done 2 weeks in a row.
Well, that's all about to change. You got to do it from now on. It's your life now.
This is my life. I'm shackled.
You are.
Like Ben Kingsley. Don't think he was ever shackled.
I was going to say, what movie was that? I don't remember.
Gandhi? Did Gandhi shackle himself to anything?
I'm sure he probably did.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, to protest
through
something.
hunger.
What about the Mandarin? Was he?
The
he was
Mandarin?
shackled?
Yeah, he had
was
shackled with rings, magical rings.
That's true. Were they magical?
Yeah,
we're talking about Iron Man 3. Not Mandarin like in
I thought we were going
spoilers for Iron Man 3, everybody. Sorry.
Deep lore. Yeah, he was a thespian in that movie.
He was. Spoilers for Iron Man 3. Sorry if you're getting ready to watch them all right now. Also, Jesse dies in the original Fast and the Furious. Just letting you know some things that happen in the movie.
I remember.
Colin.
It's the only one I do remember. Yeah.
It's the penultimate episode for you and I.
It is. I
This
love that
is-
word.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Some people probably don't even know what that word means.
We warned you, ladies and gentlemen, that Colin and I had quit IGN. We didn't warn you on that part. We told you we quit IGN.
Yeah, we didn't really give you any warning, actually.
No, that's pretty much the opposite of what we did there.
Yeah.
But then we said we didn't have many Beyonds left. We would inform you so you could prep. You could get questions into beyond@ign.com. Next week, episode 381 is Colin and Greg's final Podcast Beyond as regulars. I'm sure we'll pop up another time here or there. And then Marty takes the keys and does whatever he does.
Yeah.
This speedboat beauty.
Yeah, it's all movie spoilers. It's just all Mandarin spoilers. Next week's episode is gonna be special. It's gonna be a specialer version.
Ooh.
We got secrets planned that these two don't even know.
They won't tell us what they're doing.
No.
We keep arguing about how we want the show to look, and they're like, no, we have plans for it. You can't do that. You cannot do it that way.
Yeah. And then we promise you following Tuesday we'll be back up.
Yep.
Yeah, 1 p.m. I can't promise 1 p.m.
No, you can't.
I try to promise 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the world at 1 p.m. this podcast will be a lot.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
At 1 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready. Obviously, send in questions to beyond@ign.com. Questions, stories, whatever you want to send in for our final episode, so we have stuff to talk about.
Limericks.
Yeah. Don't do limericks, probably.
Don't do a limerick.
I don't feel like that. But I mean, you want to know what's Colin's favorite color? He'll tell you on the final episode. That's the big one.
It's plaid.
It is plaid.
I did like that today. Your headphones are matching your shirt. That's pretty dope.
Oh,
I thought
it's
those were your
unintentional.
girlfriend's headphones.
They are.
Yeah.
Now they're his. He likes them too
They just
much.
become yours.
Yeah, they're basically just mine now.
Yeah.
She gets mad at me because she's like, "They're gross. I want your own headphones." And
I'm watching Glade.
I'm watching Glade. Leave me alone. So, Marty, before we get into it, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Bloodborne because
Bloodborne.
you went to Japan to see the
Yeah.
game. Now,
Japan.
this is kind of a cool. I think that this is the last thing that will. That's what I was telling this to Greg before. I think this is the last thing that will go live on the site, other than Beyond, of course. That like I had my fingers on at some point, and I was glad to see that this finally worked out for you because I was having conversations with Sony a long time ago about getting Bloodborne on IGN first. And it was some start and go and touch and go, I guess you would call it. And then Ryan McCaffrey took it over, and you guys took it over, and you went there. So how is it going so far? What did you think? I mean, what can you tell us about the game?
Yeah, I alluded at it before. There was a lot of speculation about what I saw when I went there. A lot of people thought it was Gravity Rush 2. It was not Gravity Rush 2.
That would have been funny if you went over there for Gravity Rush 2. That would be kind of unnecessary.
But yeah, it was great. We went to From Software for a day, and then Sony Japan for a day. Obviously, the big thing that's currently on the site is the first 18 minutes in full. We snipped out some loading screens. We breezed through the character select screen because we're doing something with that later on.
Sure. There's a lot to IGN first. Come back to IGN.com on the entire month.
It's a full month. And I don't know how many days are in this February. I don't know how February's work.
28 usually. But is it a leap year thing?
I don't know. It could be one of those.
28!
Not a leap year. Yeah, the first 18 minutes are incredible. Check it out. Obviously, a lot of PS4 owners are very excited for that game. And even if you're not a Souls fan, you got to look at this because, if anything, it's very pretty.
The soul still burns, Greg.
Yeah.
The soul still burns in Bloodborne. No, I wasn't a big Souls fan either. Not either, because you are a big Souls fan. I don't know why I say like that. I wasn't a big Souls fan.
Yeah.
And playing
Full
Bloodborne, I'm totally into this.
Yeah.
And I don't know what, it's a little bit faster.
It is. It's definitely a little bit faster.
The gun helps for me.
Yeah, the gun helps. The gun's sort of in place of the shield, but people don't have to worry. The game's not easy. The game's not dumbed down. The game's tough. I died a lot. The game's a lot of fun. We have some making of sort of behind the scenes docs coming up. We have deep dives into combat. We have some reveals. I have a big hands-on preview going up Tuesday. That's now. It's up.
Wait, it's up now.
Go read it.
Oh my god!
The future.
Well, finish the podcast or the video, and then go. And then
yeah,
go read
please
it.
do that.
Yeah.
That'd be rude. Don't multitask.
Don't be rude. Don't
be
focus on what Marty did.
If
here.
there's
He-
one
How
thing,
rude.
If there's one thing Podcast Beyond has taught you, just don't be rude.
Don't be rude.
That is definitely the one thing Podcast Beyond. I don't think Podcast Beyond has taught anyone anything, actually,
Yeah.
come to think of it.
It taught him what penultimate means.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a myriad.
Which means next to last.
It does. Yeah.
We never explained that. I want to make
The
sure. that-
penultimate
Beginning
does.
of the end.
Oh my god.
Cool. So more content for the rest of the month, as
Absolutely.
IGN first always goes.
Yes, yes.
And then Bloodborne comes out April now, I think, right?
No, it's March.
March? Oh, March. March.
I
I thought
don't
it was
know if you
further
just
away
scoped
from.
us.
I thought it was.
No, you're thinking of the Dark Souls collection.
Yeah,
right?
Dark Souls 2, Sins of the First Flame comes out in April.
Oh, and then the order is even sooner than that.
Yeah,
February.
that's
Very,
February.
very
Yeah.
soon. Very
On
soon.
Friday,
Yeah.
Trophies are up. It must pass cert.
Friday.
isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
weird.
it is a Friday.
Thought that was a big deal.
That's because
It's-
1886 in Braille is Friday.
That what? Sure. Oh God, I'm looking at trophies right now just to see if Bloodborne trophies were posted yet. They're not.
Bloodborne.
But Criminal Girls comes out on Vita this month.
What the hell is
oh
that?
God, that game is no business
If
being.
you purchase that game, you are a criminal man.
Is that the one with the cards that were like?
No, that was Monster Manhunt, and I think they're doing a new one of those too.
What's Criminal Girls?
Is this
It's,
the dating sim that's like X-rated?
No way.
Isn't it?
I am so excited for
Wait.
Criminal Girls.
Oh, I'll get you a copy of it.
Yes, please. Yes, I'll stream it.
So yeah, well, all right. So Jordan Vincent at NIS posted this. Of course, it's an NIS game because they bring all the niche Japanese games over here for us on Vita. He says your team is. This is what the post about Criminal Girls coming out today. I guess it's tomorrow when we're recording it. Your team is being decimated. Everyone's down to 10 hit points or less, but there's hope. One more slash in the enemy's toast. Kisaragi has the initiative, so you tell her to attack. That this is it. I don't want to, and you can't make me. Wait, what? Not really what you expect to hear when you ask your teammate to do something in an RPG, is it? Criminal Girls Invite Only reimagines the obedient teams of traditional RPGs under a new paradigm. These girls don't volunteer to help you. They're delinquent. They're delinquents who have been damned to an eternity in hell. It's your job to teach them the value of hard work and guide them on their way out of the fiery embrace of hell.
Games are
So you're
weird.
just like a corrections officer?
it's like
the
Freedom
RPG.
Wars.
This
without
game.
the
So
freedom.
I don't know too much more about this game. I saw it when it came out in Japan. This game's supposed to be super inappropriate.
Yeah.
So
So
like,
far, it just sounds cutesy wootsy. Look at the art, cutesy wootsy art.
yeah, like I don't.
Until it gets porny.
I wonder.
Porny girls.
Criminal Girls. I'm afraid to even look this up. Criminal
Deviant
Girls
art.
wiki.
Deviant art.
Go right
No,
there.
it just brings you to Giant Bomb. It only goes to NIS, so it doesn't have its own wiki. That's too bad. It's
I
probably
think
sort
you're
of-
just trying to paint too broad of a brush here. This Criminal Girl's gonna be a stand-up game.
She
say-
could be a reformed girl afterwards.
You say so.
'Cause we are leaving.
I'll get you a copy from NIS, and then you can tell me.
I will tell
The
you.
worst. What else is coming out?
We'll talk about
We're
that.
not
later.
even nearly there
I thought we
yet,
were there.
Marty.
You just got so excited.
Ladies
I
and
was
gentlemen,
excited.
if you didn't know, this is
Very
Podcast
excited.
Beyond, IGN's PlayStation podcast, the #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet. Each and every Tuesday, we bring you an MP3 video file and more on the PlayStation 4 app for your amusement. Go to IGN.com, download it, subscribe, like, share on YouTube.com/IGN. Get the podcast on podcast services all around the globe.
Yeah. We just opened up IGN France
Did you?
today.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know that's the
Yeah.
one of the few places that IGN didn't have its
Yeah.
tendrils
So
in.
we croissants for all. They had croissants this morning. They did not have croissants.
That'd be awesome.
That would have been really good and sort of
Everybody has
inappropriate.
like, yeah, exactly. Everybody has like
Everybody
an
has to
IGN
wear a
beret.
beret.
They're like, hey, we opened
Surely
up IGN
someone would have been
France.
offended
And
by
I was
that.
gonna say, yeah, somebody's super offended somewhere.
Yeah. There's a lot, Pablo.
Colin.
Yes.
Let's begin the penultimate episode with what is
Are you sure this shouldn't just be the final episode?
and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news.
I'm finding 6 items of consequence on here,
6
Greg,
items of baker's dozen.
on IGN because I don't rate the news and do our PlayStation coverage at IGN anymore. I'm not quite as in tuned as I used to be.
Sure.
So I don't know like if I'm
It was
missing.
also
anything.
sort of a slow week, to be
Yes.
honest.
I think it really was.
Yeah.
Um,
Slow news week, IGN.
but
Oh, newest week IGN.
Jordan Serrani wrote
Heir to the Serrani fortune.
heir to the Serrani fortune. Actually, I feel like I can find this in a more succinct way. But anyway, so PlayStation Plus, new PlayStation Plus games for February. Very good month for PlayStation Plus. So basically, on PS4, you're going to get Transistor,
Great.
which is a super massive game, right?
Yep.
And then
Supergiant.
Supergiant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Supermassive is Until Dawn.
It's Greg Kostavin's game.
Yeah, exactly. And then Apotheon, which is a Metroidvania kind of like Roman style, like really weird graphical
art
style.
Really great.
Yeah.
Played at PSX, a lot of fun.
That is going to be free, and it's new. So when it comes out, it'll come out. It should be out by the time you hear this, but it'll be free.
That's awesome.
Not going to worry about the
Plus
PlayStation
users.
Network.
Yeah.
On PS3, you're going to get Yakuza 4 and Thief. Unfortunately, you're not going to get the PS4 version of Thief.
That's
You get
sort
the
of a
PS3
bummer.
version
Yeah.
of Thief. Whatever, it's free. And then on Vita, you're going to get Rogue Legacy and Kick and Fennec. And the cool thing about Rogue Legacy is that it also apparently will be the PS4 and PS3 versions since they are cross.
That game is awesome.
Yeah, no excuses not to play Rogue Legacy now because that game is really
Yeah.
extraordinary. One of the best games of last year. Even though it came out 2 years ago on PC, I don't count it.
not the way
Until
things work.
until it comes to until something comes to Vita, it doesn't count. And when it
Sorry,
came,
Uncharted.
yeah.
Sorry, Uncharted 4.
So that's a nice lineup of games. So yeah, Transistor and Apotheon on PS4, Yakuza 4 and Thief on PS3, and Rogue Legacy and Kick and Fennec on Vita.
I don't know what a kick and fennec is.
Oh,
Kick
you
and-
will, though.
Isn't a fennec like a fox? I don't want to kick.
It's a platformer. I'm not sure it's even out yet. So anyway, I think the star of that is actually Apotheon because that game looks really, really cool, and
Yeah,
that's been
that's
floating
pretty
around like conventions for a while now.
There have been a few games that have debuted as free on PlayStation Plus.
Last month it was Secret Ponchos.
That's right. Yeah.
So keep your eye out for that. Hopefully you didn't buy any of these games recently because you could have saved some cash. But that's always the way it goes. At least they tell you early. Remember back in the day, they wouldn't tell you anything until the games went up.
Yeah.
And then you could have bought it like literally 10
But
minutes.
then-
yeah, you missed out by like a day.
Jack Trenton left and everything changed.
Things are looking up Trenton. I had a discussion the other day with Jose Otero. About,
I know him.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
a big amiibo fiend.
Yeah, he is. And we were talking about how he was like, yeah, I didn't buy Transistor. Now I'm super glad that it's going to be free. But like he said, when he does buy a game, he feels boned when it becomes free. And I was like, it's such a weird sort of dynamic of like, I never feel like, man, I really wasted my money because I could have waited until it's free. I'm like, oh, this is exciting. If I like this game, now I can tweet out and champion and be like, hey, you all have no excuse not to play this game now. So it's sort of that weird. I don't know. I get where he's coming from, and then there's an apprehension about purchasing things on day one. If you're like, oh, this looks like the kind of game that's going to be free a couple months from now.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. I always want to support people and who are making games I think are cool,
Sure,
right? That I want to be out
yeah.
there right away talking about it, showing it, buying it, giving them
Yeah,
money or
yeah.
whatever.
And we don't. I mean, we don't know the kind of deals that indie developers sign with Sony for PlayStation Plus, and same thing with Microsoft and the Gold games. I imagine they get paid. Obviously, it's not like you could just throw them out there, but you'd have to
Sony's
think.
like, we're debuting this day. We're like, no, please. We need the money.
But I imagine it more goes into the developer pocket if you just buy the game. I don't know how that works though. I'm not a business connoisseur.
Yeah. You figure, I don't know. I think it's the cool thing of like Transistor. We already know sold really well. They've talked about that.
Yeah.
600,000 copies across all platforms
Yeah.
or whatever, which is I guess just PS4 and PC.
Yeah.
But now they get that second breath, right? It's so hard for games, especially on the network, indie games, whatever, that come out are the big deal for 1 week, and then the next week there's something else to promote.
Yeah.
The next week, and then you forget all about the fact that Transistor comes around. So they have it all of a sudden get that jump start of like, here's people to talk about this game, care about this game,
and it's
again.
great. And then when March rolls around, it's no longer free. The rest of the year when people are adopting the PS4 and they're like, hey, what game should I get? If everyone who has PlayStation Plus is like, man, Transistor, that game's amazing.
Yeah.
And that helps. That gives it a longer tail.
Ah, like a tiger tail.
Yeah, like a tiger tail.
Yeah.
I like the Tin Man.
Where should I go from here? Let's see. I'm trying to.
I
look
would say
here.
some more PlayStation news.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm trying to I'm not really riveted by a lot of this news because there's again it was slow, so I'm not really. I want to go from I want to go for another heavy hitter here, but
Yeah.
And speaking of heavy hitters, new details announced for MLB 15 the show.
Oh,
a
segue.
segue.
Colin, he knows how to podcast really well.
I liked that song. That was a good song. Matt Porter from IGN wrote, today fans were treated to details of a whole range of new features and improvements for the game. And I'm just going to hop over to the PlayStation blog because they actually have bullet points here. Basically, I think this is the biggest news for the show. We talked about this on our last week on our own stuff. But the game will finally have year-to-year saves across all the platforms. So a lot of people were complaining about, I don't think it happened last year, and I know people have been talking about it for a long time, that the MLB games and NHL games and Madden games will not let you take your saves from year to year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people actually buy every other year, every third year because they feel like they're really invested, especially in baseball when it's a 162-game season and you do Road to the Show and it takes forever.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I forgot we can't curse on the show.
It's okay.
So the big thing is that according
it's my penultimate
to
time doing this.
according to Ramon Russell, who was obviously the community manager and one of the producers, really nice guy over at Sony San Diego, wrote, users who purchased MLB 14 The Show will be able to continue their franchise and Road to the Show progress in MLB 15 The Show with the year-to-year saves feature. Saves between the two versions will be forward compatible, meaning you don't have to worry about starting your franchise or Road to the Show seasons over. That's huge.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's on PS4, PS3, and Vita. So it doesn't matter which version you get. And then gameplay improvements, and it says PS4 and PS3 only. So the Vita game is going to be basically a port with a new roster, probably. Advanced AI logic, upgraded motion system, user-controlled cutoffs, all new slide and tag system, dynamic difficulty, all sorts of stuff. If you go to PlayStation blog, there's a ton of new stuff that they're putting into the game, and it seems like this is the year to do it because Sony San Diego, I've always said, is the hardest working and most underrated studio in Sony's family because they have to turn around these games about 9 months.
Yeah.
The PS4 version was obviously in development for a long time, but they had to get it out. It was late, if we remember correctly. Last year it came out late because they weren't done with it. So this is the time where they think they're cramming new stuff into it. So they have graphical improvements and universal reward system, directional hitting interface, a Legends mode, inside the show, news suite. So there's a bunch of new stuff getting crammed into MLB The Show.
They're the hardest working studio, man. Sony San Diego loves that MLB The Show.
Yeah, they do. They're real passionate about it.
Over it.
Yeah. And like I said, like when I was at Sony San Diego years ago, I guess it was like 2010 or 2011 now. And all I remember is that there was it was like a couch or even a mattress.
It was a mattress.
I think it was a mattress that like is just in the producer's studio that he just like sleeps on, and then like they just never leave.
Wow. It's a Japanese mentality right there.
In San Diego,
Oh.
where they're surfing, they're going to Comic-Con,
Yeah.
they're going to Polite Provisions,
Yeah.
and that's all they're in the Gas Lamp, going to Dick's Last Resort, maybe a Gas Lamp strip club, they're having fun. That's a steak place, it's not really a strip club. False advertising.
tricked.
I found out the
We've
hard
all
way.
been tricked.
I saw this. It was interesting news, specifically because Borderlands 3 was teased or at least announced in some preliminary way that they're going to start.
Hey,
it.
we want to work on it, we need your help. We need people.
So Brian Albert, a good friend Brian Albert, wrote that the lead writer of Borderlands 2, Anthony Birch, is leaving Gearbox to work on a new comedy show for Hulu.
Yeah.
Birch announced the news today on Twitter, later adding that he'll continue to do, quote, do video game stuff on the side, end quote. So he's basically leaving the studio at the time that they're announcing, what they're going to do next with the game. And it'll be interesting to see someone else head that up and see if they can retain the humor that he obviously nailed in the Borderlands franchise. Although I guess
He only did two.
Yeah, he
and
came out 2 and then helped with the pre-sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pre-sequel.
But I mean, this is one of those fascinating things we always talk about in the fact of Anthony Birch starts really on YouTube with Hey Ash, what you playing?
Yeah.
And then spirals out to do this, and now
Yeah,
he's
goes
off
to
doing a
Destructoid
show.
and then that. Yeah. And that's awesome. Yeah.
I forgot the Destructoid part, right?
Yeah. And he, I mean, it's definitely. I understand why some people might be worried about 3, about the tone of 3.
I'm sure.
But I bet when they announced that they were hiring for 3, I can't imagine the quality of resumes they got. So I've no fear that game,
You put a Bullymong in there, you talk about balls, you got a game. That's it.
Also,
done.
if they haven't started the game yet, that's going to be a while
Yeah.
until we play that game.
Randy just announced it on stage, and everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
time. I guess we got to start working on this. Can we
Okay.
get some production
Yeah.
art or something?
So last week there was exciting news going around about something called Project Z.
Project Z.
I don't
Zombies.
I don't remember this. Or Project Z, if you're
Bees.
British. The game is Spelunker Z.
Okay.
And it's a new game coming to Japan, so it's, as usual, 95% of the time anyone gets excited about anything coming out of Japan, it is always a disappointment.
Oh,
and I don't mean that in the sense
wow.
that the Japanese games are bad. I mean that 2 or
not
3
what you
times a
want.
week, someone's like, something's getting announced in Famitsu, something's getting announced here, let's get excited, it's a new Dragon Quest game, oh, Square's doing something silly, and then it always ends up being a disappointment. Correct?
Yeah.
It's like when
Correct.
it's like when Final Fantasy 6 went to iOS, or it's just always
Final Fantasy 7 coming to PlayStation.
yeah, it's always something. That's why I don't get excited anymore about I'll just wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because there's the
Why you're
language
a
barrier
bigger
and all this kind of
shell
stuff.
of a man.
So-
You burned too many times. You
So
burnt.
Jordan
too many
Sirianni
times.
wrote, over the weekend, Square Enix unveiled the mysterious PlayStation 4 game Project Code Z as Mina di Spelunker Z.
Sure.
Coming to Japan March 19th as a free-to-play game for PlayStation 4, Spelunker Z includes 6-player online multiplayer character customization and, for the first time in the series, pets,
Oh, sick.
Go.
according to Famitsu, translated by Gamatsu. Being free-to-play, certain items will be available to purchase using real-world currencies. For those unfamiliar with the series, the original Spelunker was released in 1983. The 2D platformer later came to PlayStation 3 as the reimagined Spelunker HD and went on to inspire games such as Spelunky. So we are following that so far. Spelunker Z is being developed by Tozai Games. So this isn't Spelunky.
No.
It's Spelunker Z. And so Andrew Goldfarb has nothing to be excited about.
He's heartbroken.
And again, this just goes back. It's just like, this is cool. This is a cool announcement. I'm sure people in Japan are excited about. People here are excited about. We'll see what happens. But again, it just reminds me of like, because it's the same thing with the 2 from Metal Gear Rising. When everyone thought that, and it's like, something's always coming out of Japan. And we're like, yeah, this is the
one.
Project Z. This has got to be a big thing. And no.
Remember that trailer we talked about like 2 months ago, where it was that like weird first-person thing with like the plant and the castle in the background? I got all excited. And what the hell?
It looked like what was that plastic game?
Wait, the one we
thought it was Datura. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks like Datura.
Yeah. If you're playing Colin and Marty Beyond Bingo, we mentioned Datura.
There you go.
Congrats. Yeah.
Second to last story is by Tom Regan, who I guess
Ronald
is
Reagan's son.
Ronald Reagan, yep. Kojima wants an open world Metal Gear Solid remake. This is the name of the story. But do any studios want to make it?
Yes,
is the
they do.
subhead.
Yes.
Hideo
He's done this before.
Hideo Kojima has expressed his desire for an open world remake of the original Metal Gear Solid for PS4 and Xbox One. During an interview with Japanese publication Famitsu via DualShockers, Kojima was asked if PS4 owners would ever be able to play earlier titles in the series, and responded that he was too busy to man such a project. Elaborating further, Kojima revealed that he would love to play in an entirely open-world reimagining of Shadow Moses, which sounds awesome.
Yep.
But doesn't have the manpower to do it himself. Yet, sadly for Metal Gear fans, Kojima also confirmed that no other studios have stepped forward and offered to remake the original. Now that the Metal Gear creator has stated his desire for an open-world remake of the 1998 classic, only time will tell if a studio will take him up on the offer. This story neglects to mention the fact that Metal Gear Solid was already remade once, and I'm kind of curious if Kojima just hasn't put it out there enough or given enough time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that there is a studio that would be desperate to remake Metal Gear Solid, whether it's a big AAA studio or some smaller, AA or indie studio.
August 13th, 2014, Gamescom 2014. Kojima's still interested in Metal Gear Solid remake. When asked if he's still interested in a potential remake of Metal Gear Solid, game creator said, "Personally, I'm not too fond of remakes," he said on his Twitch channel, "but I would have to go with Metal Gear Solid 1." Then he goes on the same thing. And this is a follow-up to a June article in which he said the same goddamn thing. Here we go. June 25th, 2013.
Wow,
Kojima seeking studio to remake Metal Gear Solid in Fox Engine. Kojima, try harder. Put out a wanted ad. We all want this.
Get on stage with Andrew Goldfarb and
Come
announce
on,
it.
Hideo. Yeah, exactly.
Just announce it and say you're hiring.
We want you to make this
what
game
studio
happen.
would you want? If
Silicon Knights, just
I was
like
gonna
the
say, yeah, bring it back.
Oh God, who has an open world pedigree?
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. Yeah. Bethesda.
Bethesda be interesting. It's got to be good combat though.
BioWare.
Yes.
Arcane. After that Dishonored.
Arcane. Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different options. Yeah, it's funny because Metal Gear was remade. It was remade by another studio, so it's this is unprecedented. But I didn't realize he was talking about it so much. I know that he was talked about how he wanted to remakes in the past, but I never heard anything about like an open world slant. Although I guess
that's new because now we're talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 and we understand that's how that's going to be.
But if it's in the Fox engine, I guess that's kind of implied.
Fox die.
So that'd be interesting. I love the original Metal Gear Solid, and I think that Shadow Moses is awesome. The enemies in that game are awesome. That's still the best roster of enemies probably in any of the Metal
Your boy
Gear
Decoy
games.
Octopus.
Decoy Octopus is the best. You only see him once.
Yeah. The DARPA chief.
DARPA chief.
Also,
Decoy Octopus is the best.
we sort of. I mean, that one sliver of Guns of the Patriots is sort of a. Wait, Guns of the Patriots is the fourth one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4
you go back to Shadow Moses there, and you sort of get the feel for what a PS4 Shadow Moses is.
Sure,
Yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was the one where I always talk about that story, right? Where I had to drive around. Jeff Haynes is like, 2 copies are coming in for Metal Gear Solid 4 today. You're taking one home. I'm going to take one home and play some of them. Great. They didn't come in.
Uh-oh.
So like 4 o'clock, we're calling Konami. We're like, where are these things? And they're like, it says it's delivered. And we're running around IGN's old Brisbane office. No sign of this thing. So when we call them, we're like, no. And they give us a tracking number. Call FedEx. And they're like, okay. And they look and like, oh, we dropped it off at the wrong place. We dropped it off at this address.
Sure.
I reverse searched that address. I found this place. I call the place. One guy answers. I'm like, you got some packages for us? He's like, yes, I do. And he's like, we will put them back. And I'm like, I'm not letting you put them back into FedEx. I will come to you right now.
Yeah.
So I drove like a bat out of hell, got over there, got him, got back, dropped him off,
How
went
far
home
away
at
was
night.
it? Was it like
It wasn't
business
bad.
park?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't. It was like it was further south on the highway, but it wasn't bad. Then ran home, played that game till I think it was 2 or 3 in the morning. Came into work, was like, I can't. It's everything I want out of Metal Gear 4. It's tying up all the loose ends that Metal Gear fan like myself would have. And then I'm like, take it home that night, and I'm like, I'm only gonna play So like 11 o'clock, I'm gonna droopy eyed, like when they're doing like the installs and Snakes, like smoking
Oh,
a
yeah,
cigarette.
you're like,
I'm
"All right,
like
I gotta go to
nodding
bed."
off on the
Yeah.
couch. I'm like, whatever. And at 11 p.m., I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed, and that's when he's like, we have to go back to Shadow Moses. And I'm like, what? Because this is my favorite. That's my
Yeah.
favorite Metal Gear at the time.
that's
This
it, yeah.
is a pre-Peace Walker
Yeah,
world. Don't forget.
Peace Walker.
Yeah. And so then I played it again until 2 a.m,
Yeah.
just playing through all that stuff. I was so happy to go back. Those are the days, Colin. We
You
have so
guys
much.
didn't put it on your top 25 PS3 list.
Well, now we're gone, and you guys can do whatever you want to that list.
Penultimate.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I've thought about that. I'm intrigued to see how the Vita, PS3, and PS4 list.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, without us,
Yeah.
surely they'll change pretty significantly.
Sure.
Didn't it already happen? I thought they put one up that was like had other voices than just you and I.
Well, yeah,
I
we
mean,
did that
Vince
last
and-
year, but I was still in there.
Yeah.
And I wielded an iron fist, Greg.
No, you
He was
don't.
really he was mean in that meeting. Yeah.
He's-
I was actually very. Everything was quite democratic when we did those. More than ever. Oh God. Jesus Christ, you got pretty
Look at
excited
how the
about that.
bottle, it looks like I can't tell if it got damaged in transit or what. So I was trying to straighten it back out, but that doesn't work.
Well, no, so
Good thing I don't work here anymore, huh?
Marty,
yeah, just
clean
leave
this
it
up.
there. Who do you care? So when we used to do the PS3 and Vita lists, Greg and I, and then we got Clements and Goldfar back in the day, we would talk and basically just be like, well, this is where this is, and we would argue and talk, and it would just kind of be the list. We wouldn't really vote on anything or like really. There wasn't like fierce arguments. It was just like you kind of had it's a compromise.
That's because Goldfarb was meek.
Exactly, it's very meek. But when we did it last year, it was extremely like by the books democratic.
Yeah.
I remember.
No,
really-
we got into certain things, and you were like, "Well, I don't necessarily agree with this, but you guys do, so
Yeah.
we're doing it."
Yeah.
Yeah, you were great.
So now let's see. Yeah, now that I'm not, God knows what's gonna happen to Resistance. Uh,
The fall of man.
final story by Brian Albert. Report: Netflix predicts 4K capable Xbox One and PS4 coming this fall.
I disagree.
Netflix predicts Microsoft and Sony will release 4K-friendly versions of the Xbox One and PS4 this fall, according to a report from Forbes. Last month at CES 2015, Netflix CPO Neil Hunt said Sony, quote-unquote, promised a hardware revision for the PS4 that will include 4K video capability. Full context from the Huffington Post story quoted by Forbes follows. Quote, aside from the lack of screens available to buy right now, there is also a dearth of set-top boxes capable of showing 4K HDR. Hunt said Sony has promised a new hardware rev for the PS4 that will eventually include a 4K video capability, and that would, quote-unquote, expect eventually for it to support HDR as one example of where the industry will seek to catch up. But in the meantime, any HDR TV will probably have a Netflix app built in, Hunt said, which solves the problem for now.
I wish it was Max on Netflix who leaked this story.
Oh, that guy's
What are you
weird.
looking to watch today?
What are you
also,
buying?
I heard the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 have 4K capable TVs by the end of the year.
You left your front door unlocked. Max.
Hey, I'm
Okay.
Max.
Max is scary, man.
Yeah.
He's stupid.
Let's see. That's it. That's
Okay.
basically it.
Do we have any news about Game of Fire coming to PS4?
Which one's
What
that?
is Game of Fire?
That thing that they keep having commercials for.
Is that
That's
Game of
Game of
War?
War.
Game of War.
The Kate
That's
Upton one?
Yeah, I thought it was
No.
called Game of Fire.
No, you're wrong.
Is it coming to PS4?
No
No,
way.
Dude, no.
Kate Upton money means you can't develop for PS4.
She only does commercials for mobile games.
She has her
So many
standards.
commercials.
Liam Neeson, he agrees as well.
Yeah. Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Don't call me Shirley.
Nope. Or else he's going to murder you for taking his daughter.
Marty,
Yes.
super stoked for
Yeah.
Bloodborne,
I am.
but it's not out for a while.
Oh, it's not till March.
If I want to know what came to the mom and
Yeah.
grop shop this week, where would I go?
The Andrew Goldfarb Memorial of Video Games Softwares that are coming out soon.
It's close enough.
That was
We're close enough to the end now, Greg. Where you know what? Just make
let
it
it go.
what you
Whatever.
want it to be.
It's like jazz.
It means whatever the hell you want it to mean.
What is that supposed to mean? Apotheon comes out digitally on PS4. The gods of Olympus have abandoned humanity, leaving you to perish without their benevolence. Take up arms against the gods, climb Mount Olympus, and take their divine powers for yourself to ensure mankind's survival. Sounds very familiar.
What is the soft God of War
Apotheon, I was gonna say, Apotheon is a fast and brutal 2D action game with a striking art style and heroic narrative based on ancient Greek mythology. Criminal Girls Invite Only is available digitally in retail on Vita. Welcome to hell. As a program instructor, it's your job to rehabilitate a special group of criminal girls.
This is the second description of
so they
criminal girls we've read on the
So they can atone for their sins and return to the mortal world. Motivate the girls, defeat convicts, and reach the top of the Hellspire. Can you coach these girls to work together and make it to the very top?
So this wasn't.
Greg's going to find out.
going
This
to.
wasn't the game I was thinking of, but this also sounds pretty gross.
What's the game you're thinking of?
I can't remember. I think it was an iOS game.
I want to play that game too. I
You
want to play all these
of them? I wanna
games.
play all of them.
If it's a gross
get
game,
arrested.
Greg Miller wants to stream it.
Game of Thrones, a Telltale game series, episode 2, The Lost Lords, comes to PS4 and PS3 digitally. Kick and Fennec comes to Vita digitally. This game is going to be free. For people that don't know, I've seen this game before. Kick and Fennec is a smooth and easygoing platform adventure about Kick, a little boy with a very big gun, and a small flying robot named Fennec. Dare great heights, and time your jumps just right to accomplish incredible feats.
Can you
I'm not crazy about that sentence.
Dare great. Is it Clements?
Probably not.
Clements takes some pride in your work.
King Oddball comes to PS3 digitally. This is already on PS4 and Vita, I think. Real Fishing Masters Challenge. Remember the other fishing game that came from Natsume that came to Vita and everyone hated it?
How's real spelled?
You know exactly how it's spelled. I'm not even going to tell you. Natsume's best-selling Real Fishing series comes ashore in the biggest real fishing game yet. Real Fishing Masters Challenge. For a reason you can't quite explain, you've been drawn back to the fishing lodge you used to visit as a kid with your dad.
You're telling me, man.
Once the novice watching your father fish, can you now take the challenges put forth by your father and become the fishing master yourself?
What if this had like a really like powerful moment near the end of like the unexplained reason you were brought back is that
Grandpa's funeral
you
or
died as a
something?
child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, like you're a nationwide kid. You're the nationwide kid.
I'm
I would have
excited.
been a master champion of real fishing, but I died.
I'm excited about this one. Risk is coming to PS4 digitally. This is already on PS3. I think it's probably the same version we used to play back in the day.
Yeah.
That's fun. Risk is a great game.
Yeah.
SpongeBob Hero Pants
Here we
comes
go.
to Vita
Yes.
digitally.
So show me the trophies.
I'll bring them up.
Thank you.
And finally, World Hunter comes to PS3 digitally. Experience the realism of international hunting with World Hunter. Pursue bighorn sheep, white-tailed deer, doves, and coyotes.
And the
I was
world.
about to say DLC. Man.
Hunt winter or fall seasons in the rugged Rocky Mountains of New Mexico, the Canadian Rockies, and the exquisite Cordoba region of Argentina.
Damn.
I mean, this is like that's a loose definition of world.
Now, let's see. Do we have trophies for SpongeBob yet? Of
course we do.
Nope, they're not up
God
yet.
dang
Let's
it,
see.
PSN
I'm going to go in
profiles.
here real quick. Bob SquarePants Plankton's Robotic Revenge. That's an old game.
I don't want old games. I want new games.
No.
If you go to the games list, the newest games that were added were the Criminal Girls.
Show me the Criminal Girls. How hard is that platinum going to be?
Criminal Girls.
Let's see. Prison Break.
People already got it. Look at that.
So these
Oh,
are
it's
all.
out in Japan though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been out for a while. It's cleared, turned into. I mean, none of this seems incredibly unusual to me.
Just long. It's probably long.
I'm sure it's an NIS game. I am sure it's long.
I've been hearing a lot about the Criminal Girls game being hard.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's no new trophies really added lately. Ironclad Tactics still there. Citizens Earth. So yeah, that's it for games.
All right.
I will say the game right now that I want to talk to you guys about is still Dying Light because I like it very much.
I like Dying Light a
You
lot.
been playing
too.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been playing it too. We're fans.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dying Light, Greg Way.
That was a difficult page turn.
Eric from Hawaii writes into beyond.ign.com just like you can. It says, Greg, Colin, and the ever-rotating Marty. I can't seem to wrap my mind around the fact that there is no parkour down button in Dying Light, the zombie game that proudly flaunted its parkour mechanics. Now, I'm not very far in the campaign, but I've seen enough gameplay footage of Crane, awkwardly jumping off buildings to reach ground level. The player is dependent on piles of trash, cars, softened roofs, and even the heads of zombies to break their fall. I realize that buildings in Dying Light are nowhere close in size to those of Assassin's Creed games, but I still think the folks over at Techland should have learned a little something after Ubisoft suffered years and years of the same traversal issues. Dying Light, in my opinion, is not a broken game, nor does it need a meaty patch to fix any ongoing issues. I'm sure Techland is hard at work trying their multiplayer servers up to par. My two questions are, though, for those of you that played Dying Light, have you found similar frustrations with the controls in traversing the city?
Are we answering that question?
I'm reading the other.
Oh.
He says two questions. That's one question. He goes, thank you for everything. Long-time listener, first-time writer beyond. Greg, Colin, Tim, and Nick, best wishes for of you and your endeavors. Reach for the stars. If you fall, there's no question here. This is just talking. So Eric from Hawaii has one question.
Can you reach for the stars?
What will you do now that you don't have jobs? So I haven't.
You're looking at it.
What have you been frustrated at all?
No, I think it's weird. It's weird to sort of compare it to Assassin's Creed because AC didn't get a downward parkour button until Unity, which was in November, and obviously this game was in development right alongside Unity, considering it came
Sure.
out a month and a half later.
What's the? I don't know the button from Unity.
So Unity, it has a separate go up parkour button and go down parkour button. So for the first time in the series, there was an actual elegance with getting down from a
Gotcha.
high
It wasn't
building.
just stumbling around.
And
Okay.
it looked really cool, and like the way the towers were designed, like you'd look like a chimp swinging downwards. And so instead of just being like, well, I'm going to jump off, hopefully I hit a haystack, or hopefully I have enough health to survive the jump.
Sure,
you
sure,
can actually
sure,
get down
sure, sure.
from buildings
Got
in
it,
a pretty
got it.
nice way. I haven't had that problem in Dying Light yet.
Yeah.
I think the movement feels great.
I'm blown away by how
Yeah.
good it feels for first person because I liked Mirror's Edge, but Mirror's Edge for me felt clunky in terms of that.
Yeah,
and maybe it's because
yeah.
I couldn't wrap it's a shortcoming of me, but like this one was easy to jump into and figure out and go from. And I really don't find myself falling off and getting hurt that much.
Yeah.
When you're up super high, like you're taking out a radio tower or whatever, you're like, okay, now where's the trash bag? I get that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Outside of that, I think it's been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when Greg. I wasn't paying attention to this game at all. I
Sure.
couldn't care about this game less when it was announced, and I'm not a huge Techland fan in the sense that I played Dead Island for a couple hours, and I'm like, I don't really like this game. The one thing that stuck with me in Dead Island that I always made fun of it was like how many suitcases are there to go through in this game. Like it's just there's constantly things to go through in this game. It's insane. Like and I'm glad they dialed that back for sure. But that stuck with me. I was like, there's other things I want to play. I don't want to play this. And I walked into this game knowing Techland did it, and it's zombies, and I'm sick of zombies and all this kind of stuff. But it's like the game is really good. And when Greg described it to me as like Dead Island meets or like Fallout or whatever open world game meets Mirror's Edge, I was like, that sounds terrible. I was like, that sounds awful. Why would I want to go in an open world where I'm like, it's like parkour? And it works really good.
Yeah.
The game feels good. I like how it's asymmetric and you're not really supposed to fight, or you should be scared to fight.
Sure, yeah.
Being out in the truly terrifying to be out in nighttime. Like it like I'm actually like really terrified about it. I want to turn my flashlight on and like draw the enemies towards me and stuff like that.
That's
It's really
sleep. I'm a total coward. I'm like, not anymore. They're like, double XP. I'm like, I'm good.
Nope, yep.
Good.
I'll
Don't need it.
just grind during the day. I'm fine.
Let me get a really cool weapon one day, and then I'll worry about it.
I've been caught away from my safe house a couple times because I get like real bold and and I try to get back and it's like.
Have you not gone out and cleared all the safe houses?
Most of them, not all of them, but
that was like one of my first things when I was like free. I'm like,
but you could see like those enemies walking around, and you could see like where they can see.
Yeah.
And so you're just trying to avoid them, and it's like when they see you, it's just like terrifying.
Yeah.
Like you would just just start running.
Yeah, you can
and
hear
don't really
them
know where you're
behind
going.
you.
And it's like, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
I love that tension, that risk reward. It's I don't know how much Don't Starve you guys played.
I played a lot.
But it sort of reminds me of like when you set up camp at night. And you're like, well, how far can I push this?
Exactly.
Out?
I don't want
can
to put
go-
any more wood into the circle.
Yeah,
Keep getting
yeah,
closer, and you
yeah,
know they're getting
yeah.
closer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm liking this. This is probably the most surprising game for me since Wolfenstein in terms of like a big AAA game that I was not on my radar, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm having a really great time with this.
Yeah. So we've been talking about it, and someone had tweeted at me that exact thing is this year's Wolfenstein. I was like, that's a great point, but I think I really liked Wolfenstein. If it wasn't for that, I gave Wolfenstein I think a 7.8. If it wasn't for that just awful intro, that just terrible
really bad.
40-minute intro, I would have probably given it maybe an 8. And I feel like Dying Light's in the same space for me, even though I only played it for 10 or 12 hours. I don't think I'd slam a score on it quite yet.
Yeah.
But I get really good vibes of it. It's one of the few games in recent memory that I think about a lot when I'm not playing it, and that I want to play a lot, and that it just is scratching a very specific itch for me right now. Like I don't know what itch it is because I don't even I play a lot of open world games and I don't have necessarily that itch because it's always being scratched. But like the
Constant scratching.
It's just constantly being scratched by a disc, which is weird. And I just really enjoy it. I also think it's very pretty. And I was showing when I was playing with my girlfriend, I'm like, look how good this looks, because I was like, the day-night cycle is slow in the game, and which is cool. I like that. I don't like the day-night cycles that are like really, really rapid.
Yeah.
And the way the shadows move on specific things depending on the time of day is really good. The game's really good looking, and the draw distances are beautiful. The game. Some people have complained about technical issues. I have not had any technical issues, with the exception that I got caught in an environment once and I had to restart.
Yeah.
But the game's always saving, like constantly. I'm actually surprised by how what it saves.
Yeah.
And like how often it saves, so I didn't really lose any progress when that happened. And I don't want to excuse that. It sucks that happens. But yeah, it's a really, really good game. I really highly recommend it. It's a nice early year game. It came out at a perfect time.
Yeah,
totally.
That's the big thing.
And I know a lot of people were concerned about it, that it was released, or journalists got it and critics got it so late, and that's a terrible sign usually.
Yeah.
But and that's why when that happened, I was like, Jesus, like.
Yeah.
Let's see what this thing's gonna be.
And I was so impressed by it. I really there's so many games I want to play. I still need to beat like Citizens of Earth and Ironclad Tactics and a bunch of other games. But now I'm like, really, really into this game.
Yeah.
And so I think between now and like when the order comes out, or whatever game you're looking forward to, this is a good time waster for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if this would have came out in like October, it just would have got smothered
Totally,
between Mordor and AC and Far Cry and Sunset Overdrive.
But now,
Yeah.
great example of a game. Getting
January.
into it, having a
Yeah.
chance to read January.
Yeah. You can play in the Ides of Feb.
Let's talk about another new game, Marty.
Yeah.
Greg writes in.
Greg Rice.
No, just Greg.
Okay.
But it's weird that he says his name is Beyond Greg, but he puts in a question mark next to it.
Maybe is this like you from the future?
He's not. I forgot who I am. Anyways, Greg says Beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond.
Hello, Greg, Colin, and maybe Marty. I just picked up Life is Strange today, Friday. I never really heard anyone talk about this game, and I totally love it. Did this game not get good hype? Have any of you played it, and do you like it? Beyond, Greg?
Well, he's confused.
He's very confused about who he is. I've played it.
I played it, and I take offense that he said it did good hype.
You were the one who came back telling me about it. I remember.
and
You
it
put up
was-
an article.
Yeah, and we covered it. I think it was revealed at Gamescom, and Brian Albert wrote he sang its praises in a written piece, and we did videos on it.
Yeah.
I came back from New York Comic Con talking about how I liked it.
What do you think of the final product?
Episode 1 is good. I really love the premise. So if you guys don't know, this is an episodic adventure game, sort of in terms of mechanics akin to a Telltale game.
Sure.
It's a teenage girl's kind of coming of age story. So there you get the Gone Home.
Yeah.
But it's also about time travel. And sort of these weird supernatural sci-fi mysteries and the ability to, well, this is how I handle the situation now. What happens if I go back and choose to do something differently?
Right, rewind time. She can
Yeah.
rewind time. She's the Princess of Persia.
Princess of Persia. She's John C. Braid.
Did you guys use that as your strapline? That's a
We
free one.
should
That's
have.
the
That's a
leftover
really good one. Yeah, I don't know.
What'd you do instead?
I don't know if our review's up.
Strangey
So it was
strange.
gonna be me, and then I got sidetracked with
Oh.
things.
Okay.
I think
Stuff?
it's sick. Yeah,
And things?
things and stuff.
Okay.
One qualm I have is the writing isn't. I hate like knocking someone else's writing because I'm like I've never written a game. I'm not. Yeah, no, I just it comes off as disingenuous sometimes.
I played it and I was super excited from what you guys had talked about. Jumped in when I got my code early. Was playing and like as soon as like gave me control and like I looked in her backpack, I spent like 30 minutes reading her journal.
Yeah.
Like every page of it and then reading every character bio. I'm like, this is awesome. This
Really
is
good.
so cool. And then when I got into playing it, I kept getting that like not that like the edge of my mind right. There's no heart. There's something's missing.
Yeah.
Something's off, and I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But at times, it just feels too mechanical.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not lost in like it doesn't look great, but that's not what I'm arguing
yeah.
about. But it's just like it feels very, very much like I'm in a game the whole time. Where
Yeah,
I'm not like seeping into the experience
Sure,
and getting
sure.
lost in it. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and it just doesn't. I mean, the fact that this is anchored on a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
It feels like it's very tough to rein in the voice of someone going through what everyone goes through at that time in their
Yeah.
life, unless you've been there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the folks that don't not have been there. It's a French studio.
Yeah.
These are the guys that did Remember Me.
Yeah, they did Remember Me, and they just announced some spooky game too. They just showed the title, Vampire, I think. was
Yeah.
why.
So it's cool that they're continuing to go because of it seems like they're going smaller. Vampire Strike.
Yep. Thank you.
It seems like they're going smaller. Remember Me, of course. There's a really fascinating story behind Remember Me because it was supposed to be a PlayStation exclusive. That was then.
Oh, really?
That Sony then walked away from, and then Capcom published it. People didn't really like it. I thought it was fine. I mean, I beat it. I got the platinum. I got the platinum trophy in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a fine game. It was
It's a game
just
I would have liked to see a sequel of like, hey, fix everything I didn't like about this.
yeah, it's cool. Like I like the protagonist a lot. I like that again. They're concentrating on a female protagonist,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty cool. It seems like they're toning it down a little bit though, and like making smaller games.
Yeah.
And the episodic game, I think, if your game is good, this is the danger. Like why I'm interested to see how this goes with games like Resident Evil Revelations 2, and especially a game like Life is Strange that is not a Telltale game that is being done episodically. Is how this game does, because it can be disastrous or very lucrative depending on how people enjoy the first 1 or 2 episodes. I know that the second episode comes out in March, so they're doing more of the Telltale kind of
Yeah.
approach as opposed to Revelations, which is all coming out within a month.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting and I think dynamic thing. I just hope that I want to play the game to see how it feels episodically. Like Resident Evil Revelations 2 to me was like either a well-kept secret or something that they decided to do very late to make more money off the
Yeah.
game. And I want to see if this is one of those games. Or if this game feels like it should be episodic, because I think a lot of studios are going to start doing this. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's meant to be episodic.
Yeah, I don't
The
think
ending, the way they build up
Sure,
and they
sure.
end on it, it's like this is clearly like
Yeah.
your cliffhanger. Like, what's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
happen next time?
I think with the Telltale comparison, the reason those have been so successful is that because by and large their inaugural episodes are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, from Walking Dead to Wolf to Borderlands and Game of Thrones, yeah, they hit on such a hard, like, awesome note. And yeah, like all the seasons have had slumps. You know, Wolf and Walking Dead season 1 have definitely had slumps in my mind, but it sold me on that first episode. And I'm going to keep playing this because I really do like the world, but I don't feel like the first episode hit quite as hard as the Telltale game. And I hate making the comparisons to, I hate the crude, like it's Walking Dead meets Gone Home. Like I don't like doing that, but
But I mean, it is what I mean. That begs. I do think that begs the comparison.
yeah, oh yeah,
In my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I can say about it is I enjoyed myself, and I'm going to play the rest of them. It wasn't like I got turned off to it,
Sure,
but it
yeah.
was just like, But there were so many parts that were really good to it, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of interesting, like, I felt like they didn't pull a punch or something on, like, this girl who's hooking up with this guy, or like, you know what I mean? They could have done like a real PG way, but they made it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is actually what I think I remember high school to be
Yeah,
like.
and there's like a scene where like one of the girls just like lights up a joint and lays on her bed, and it's just like, oh, like this is the like possibly the most realistic drug use ever in video games, where it's not like mind altering, everything's changing. It's just like a natural thing in this world.
I do like that everybody's got some kind of horrible skeleton in their closet or whatever. Like everywhere you go, you're like, oh, jeez, guys.
Is anyone in this town just normal?
Surveillance photos.
Yeah.
Like, oh, god damn it, people. You psychos. We've been talking some Telltale there. So let's jump over to Elijah Steele, a.k.a. Loco Lizard Man.
What?
Loco Lizard Man
Wait,
slithers
lizard or
in.
wizard?
Lizard.
Oh,
Slithers in and says, Dear Greg, Colin, and
do that ever.
Marty.
That's me.
Yeah, he said something insulting. I'd cut it out.
Wow.
Not really. Anyways, I know I'm in the minority, but I'm not a Game of Thrones fan. So the Telltale Game of Thrones game means nothing to me. But I am a Borderlands fan, and Tales from the Borderlands was the best Telltale game I've ever played, at least so far. So why do you think we aren't? Why do you think we are getting a new episode of Game of Thrones, even though Tales of the Borderlands came out first? I can't wait for more from Reese/Troy Baker. Am I saying that right? Reese? Is that what it was? Reese.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
a Reese's Pieces.
It's been a while. Or like Kyle Reese.
Yeah,
You remember that? You remember that?
yeah, the creator of the Reese's Pieces. He time traveled.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
In Terminator Genesis.
He had to say-
He
he
gets
di-
here.
he
There's
would
no
die.
Terminator. He's like, well, I'll just make Reese's Pieces. I guess. I beat that to the punch. Why, Marty? What's going on with Telltale? What are they doing here?
That's an interesting question. I was confused about that. As someone who was on the review for Borderlands, I was fully expecting to review Borderlands Part 2 before Game of Thrones Part 2
Yeah.
came out. I think it's different development teams. I feel like maybe, both episodes of Game of Thrones, maybe they were done quickly. And also it's a 6-episode series, so maybe the development's a little bit different on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is anything to worry about. I think it's just different
It's
teams.
Telltale being Telltale, I
It's
think,
Telltale
yeah.
being Telltale. And I know
Telltale gonna Telltale.
this is the first time I think anything's ever lapped another series.
When you're talking about like Wolf and Walking Dead, when they were
Yeah,
going,
like when they were going, they would go back and forth, but there would also be long delays where it's like back and forth. It's like a child trying to walk across a plywood table.
Understood.
In our podcast room.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think. I think it's just the way things are is the way things are. I don't think it's definitely nothing to.
So you're not reading into it that Borderlands fell behind schedule. This happened here.
No, I mean maybe it did fall behind schedule, but I'm not too worried about that because I'm like, hey, episode 1 was fantastic. So
Take your time.
Yeah, as long as the quality's up to episode 2, you can. I'm a guy. I'm not worried about delays. I'm a guy.
I'm a guy.
I'm a guy who likes delays.
Does this speak to your apprehension with playing Telltale episode to episode? You wait for everything usually.
Yeah, I usually wait, and I don't care about the Tales from the Borderlands, so I'm not going to play that. But Game of Thrones is I will play when it's done, when all 6 episodes are out. But yeah, maybe it's a scheduling issue or a scheduling issue if you're British.
Scheduling.
Yeah, if you're George or Martin.
Railroad
Martin.
Yeah.
Nate writes in and says, "Greetings, Greg, Colin, and Marty,
Yeah.
and beyond from Israel.
Beyond.
I just finished Shovel Knight's story and started New Game Plus. I love Shovel Knight and just want more from Yacht Game Studio, and wondered, after that awesome ending and post-credits scene, which we're not going to spoil here, I realized a sequel would be a really cool idea. What do you think? Good luck with the thing you guys are doing, and have a nice week, Nate."
They'll do a sequel.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. I mean, I just think that the game begs to be a sequel. It's inspired so heavily by Mega Man, which is about like Mega Man is self-referential in the sense that it's like it just keeps going over and over again, and and I think that they have Yacht Club has a great opportunity to to make a sequel and improve on the game like Mega Man 2 did on Mega Man 1.
Man,
So
I can't even imagine how you improve on that.
I don't either. I still, I say Up and Down Shovel Knight was the best game of last year.
I love
and I think that, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game, and
Greg.
I've never heard of these.
Yeah.
and
video game?
It's coming out soon. I think that, they're a very small studio and they worked really hard on Shovel Knight, and I don't really have any inside information for you guys other than to say that, they're working on porting the game. I don't think that they'll work on the sequel until they port something else. And I also know that they have a strong desire to do something else. So
Sure. Yeah.
So we'll see. But I've talked to them about a possible sequel before, and we've had some interesting conversations about it. So just in the sense that I talked to them, really nice guys over there, and was like, you guys should do what Inafune did with Mega Man 2 and going forward when you let the fans design the knights.
Yeah.
And then you pick your favorite ones and you bring them into the game. Because remember that all from Mega Man 2 on forever until 9 and 10, I think, all of the bosses were designed by people that just played the games. And I think that's so awesome. That's lost on a lot of people that there's like a really cool
crowdsourcing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What
synthesis before that was really possible.
Way before that.
And that's pretty extraordinary. Like basically people would send in their ideas for Quickman or Airman or whatever, and they'd be like, this is really cool. And then Inafune would draw it. Like redraw it to fit the style.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be really cool for them to do that for Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I absolutely, I do think we'll get a Shovel Knight 2, especially, it's being ported to, to Vita, and obviously
very soon.
We're getting Kratos, or Kratos.
Yeah. No,
Kratos. We call him Kratos?
Yeah.
Craters.
Craters.
Yeah, I mean, that
It's
game
Yacht Club games, right?
Yeah.
Yep, Yacht Club games.
He left it out, so I was just making sure.
And those guys, some of them worked at Way Forward, which of course is a studio with exceptional old school pedigree, DuckTales remastered, and most recently Shantae, which is Pirate's Curse, I think is the most recent one, right? And that game I think is coming to Vita too. So you would assume that they're going to make another old game. It's just a matter of whether they make a different old game.
But I would also, as much as I want a Shovel Knight 2, I would love to see them just do something else.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's
take that pedigree, or take that sort of like reverence for the 80s, and not just like in a kitschy way, which a lot of people do, like, hey, it's a pixel art and you got some
you
bloops.
got the pixel arts over here. Spider-Man.
They seem to fundamentally understand what made those games fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best part about it, is that it's not just an 8-bit game that's 8-bit to be 8-bit.
Yeah.
And I would like to see them. Yeah, I would like to see them even jump forward. I would like to even see Shovel Knight 2 be like a Mega Man X game.
That would be, if Shovel Knight 2 was like a 16-bit game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Colin,
you just did it.
But they have an engine.
Yacht Club, you heard it here first.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm sure that they're tired of. You got to balance it. Like I'm sure they're tired of Shovel Knight in the sense that they've worked on it for so long, but at the same time, they were overrun with people at PlayStation Experience, like more than any other indie dev by far. Yeah. For people so excited about that game, and it's like, well, if I were them and I identify that big, we should make the sequel now.
Yeah.
Now, and get it out by in a year.
What if it's a prequel, but it's built upon the TI-83 engine of a calculator?
That'd be great.
That'd be
That's how I used to play Drug Wars.
Yeah.
Remember that game?
Man,
I remember Drug Wars. Yeah, Drug Wars. And Mario. Rob from England writes into beyond.ign.com, just like you can, and says, Dear Greg, Colin, and Marty, Beyond. From jolly old England.
Oi.
A couple of years ago, you said how you were expecting Uncharted 4 to be... No, weeks ago. I was like, what? A couple of weeks ago, you said how you were expecting Uncharted 4 to be delayed until next year. See, I confused those lines. And then it got me thinking. When it was announced Tomb Raider was going to be a timed exclusive for Xbox One, it was rumored that this was done so it didn't clash with Uncharted 4 on PS4. With the expectation that Uncharted won't be out until next year, do you think Sony are regretting the decision, the decision to delay the PS4 Tomb Raider? Or do you think this will get just pushed back more? So he's asking, did Sony make a mistake? Is Sony regretting pushing Uncharted into the Tomb Raider timeframe? I
don't think that Sony had anything to do with that.
I don't think anyone's pushed anything.
Yeah,
and also this, trust me, this we don't think it's coming out in 2015 thing is just opinion. Mm-hmm. This is not based on
educated Greg Miller opinion is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't identified a date yet, which is interesting. I know that when Uncharted 2 and especially Uncharted 3 were we knew the dates this far out.
Oh, really?
So remember the one
the VGA reveal for Uncharted 3, right?
Which was 11/1/11 or whatever.
Yeah. They didn't like that. That put them under the gun, and then it was
exactly. So I agree with you that it's totally possible that happens. I think that they'll know more. I think that they'll know in September, really close, like September or early October. They'll be like, we're going to push the game. I think they're going to try. I think they're trying. I
guarantee not.
I don't think it's one of those cagey things though, where with Arkham Knight, where they're of course the game's not coming out this year. but there's a few things in there that need to be addressed. First of all, Sony, we don't know still the exact nature of that Tomb Raider exclusivity, and I like. To me, it seems like something that Square Enix and Microsoft would have worked out together to, with the knowledge that Uncharted might come out around the fall and that Tomb Raider would suffer on PS4, which made the decision easier to make it an exclusive on the other console. Because if you own a PS4 and Uncharted and Tomb Raider come out in the same month and you have $60, you're going to buy Uncharted.
Yeah.
I really can't imagine anyone's going to be like, well, I'm going to buy Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Tomb Raider is going to be a bad game or that the other Tomb Raider is bad. I'm just saying Uncharted is like almost unbeatable. So if this Uncharted 4 game is as good as Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 2 were, then the choice is made. So it doesn't hurt Square Enix or whoever, in terms of the publishing rights for the game. Yeah. But Sony certainly didn't have any say in that. I'm sure that Sony would like the game as soon as possible. I still don't quite understand the nature of the exclusivity because this was the big story out of E3, which is like exclusive doesn't even mean anything anymore. Like I remember when they announced that, and I'm like, they're gonna make a Tomb Raider exclusively for Xbox.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. That makes sense because they don't have a game like Uncharted.
Sure.
And even what was really cool was even Phil Spencer was like, we don't have a game as good as Uncharted. I mean, he said that. Yeah. Not those exact words, but he said something along those lines. Like, we don't have something of this caliber. Was basically what he was saying.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Marty.
Well, you guys remember that quote, right? What did he say? He said something like
I'll
that.
look it up for you.
So it would be cool for them to have that. With that said, I don't think the timing is consequential to Microsoft or Square Enix or Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's also funny because at this point we've seen a lot more. I guess not a lot more, just because of the PSX demo, we've seen quite a bit more of Uncharted 4 than we have of Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Right.
Like, we don't know what that game looks like in action. All we still have is that CG trailer from E3. And so when is if that game is a fall game, if it's an October or November game, which I would imagine they're going to try to space it out from Halo, which will, undoubtedly be a November game. When are we going to get that re-reveal? When are we going to see gameplay? Are they going to wait all the way till E3 and then, have just a 4-month preview cycle until it gets released in October? I don't know. I found that hard to believe. And we don't have a lot of big events until E3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there's PAX East, but there's not a lot of
They're not going to make a
reveals at
giant
PAX
announcement.
East. Yeah, there's GDC. I guess.
You get GDC stuff every
Yeah,
so
like I think one of the Battlefield 4, I think, had a big
and
GDC
PlayStation
event.
Move.
I found the
one was
quote.
that?
Rest in peace. Phil Spencer talked to Eurogamer in August of 2014. Quote, "Do I wish I had an owned IP first-party action-adventure game? Absolutely, but I don't right now." And speaking of Tomb Raider, this is one that fits well. Then, "I'm a big fan of Uncharted, and I wish we had an action-adventure game of that ilk. We've started some, and we've looked at them, but we don't have one today of that quality. This partnership with publisher Square Enix is an opportunity."
Yeah, so it's interesting. He's very candid.
He's a
which
good
is
dude.
what
I love that
respect
stuff.
about
Phil
him.
Spencer. Taking that Shuhei Yoshida.
Plus, he brought iDarb over to Xbox One, which is that crack.
Yeah,
I
that
know
game's
that's
real good.
Yeah, real fun.
It's actually a hashtag. I don't know if you. It's like hashtag Drive Club. We need a hashtag game.
Steve writes into beyond.ign.com just like you can. It says, "Dear Greg, Colin, and Marty, my favorite game of 2013, without a doubt, was Gone Home. It resonated with me in ways I never thought could be possible from a video game, so naturally I was elated when it was announced that it was coming to consoles early last year. I was more than happy to buy the game again to support the fine folks at Fulbright, and the allure of trophies didn't hurt either. Fast forward to today, and there hasn't been a single word of the status of the console versions. Do you think they're still coming? As much as I'd love to revisit the Greenbrier home on my PlayStation 4, does releasing a game like Gone Home on consoles in 2015 still make sense, or would Fulbright be better off putting their next game, Tacoma, on consoles instead?"
That's a good question. Greg,
There's lots to unpack
you
there.
revealed
I did, up
this
at noon.
news. Yeah.
IGN's talk show.
Yeah.
Squawk
show.
Squawk show.
Yeah, it's just going to be a bunch of birds.
Yeah, the problem was that we revealed it along with Custom Quest 2.
Yeah.
Along with it all being part of Midnight City.
Yeah.
Which is now pretty much defunct. Casey Lynch is gone from there. A whole bunch of other people are gone from there. I don't know, have they officially shuttered the label?
I know Majesco had a lot of problems. I don't know if the label shuttered, but yes, there's trouble.
So
in Paradise.
that's where it's all. They got Custom Quest 2 out, and then everybody who was behind the label really seems like they left. At least the figurehead, the people we talked to.
Yeah, I think that's the problem is that Gone Home was going, as far as I understand, after you revealed it, Gone Home was going to come to Wii U first, as far as I understood, and then it wasn't never officially announced for any specific console other than that, I think, but that it was coming to console.
Right.
And so I agree, Gone Home is an extraordinary game, and I think a game that good that is also that game also takes place in the 90s, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
Uh,
Super NES.
Is there's no timely or lack of timeliness with the game. Fulbright's not bringing it over themselves, which is why someone else was publishing it. So I don't think it's really. I'm sure it's in their hands, but I don't know if that's like in their best interest. Gone Home did fine on PC platforms.
Yeah.
I think it can find a home on consoles.
Sure.
I think Gone Home will come to console. I think
Better,
that that the port must have been in progress. I think that it's probably in limbo right now. I don't think that it just needs a home. It needs someone to pay to distribute it.
Yeah, I think the reason it was the reason you're sort of mentally tethering it with Wii U is because the game was built on Unity, and Wii U had this indie initiative where they really pushed like, hey, like Unity is super easy to develop for on Wii U, and here's the games that are coming to it, and Gone Home was one of them.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first console was officially, and we all assumed it was going to be PS4 and Xbox One as well. And again, like porting games isn't, right click save as and change the
Be
file
nice if it
extension.
was, man.
Yeah. But you would imagine that that game sold really well on PC. It has amazing word of mouth. Like, why wouldn't they put the time and effort to have a porting?
Someone
house
will
do
pick
this?
that up and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's Midnight City or not, because they may or may not exist.
Yeah.
Remains to be seen. But I imagine Fulbright proper is still working quite hard on Tacoma.
And I don't think that'll come day and date or anything with consoles.
No, I mean, so few of these games are like Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which is, in the same ilk as Gone Home, came out a couple months ago and is coming to PS4 supposedly first quarter, but we don't have a date.
I'm excited about that. I'll play that.
Yeah, it's
when it
good.
comes to
And we've both seen Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and are quite excited about that, which is another game of the same ilk.
Yeah. You keep saying ilk.
The
now.
Witness is an ilking game.
I'm Jonathan Blow, and
Yeah,
I want
where
you to
is
know
that
that
game?
these
What you need to be
are my
excited for
games.
is the Talos Principle when that comes to PS4.
Yeah, I heard. I don't know if I've seen anything on.
Yeah.
I've
Everyone
heard that
talks about
name.
it,
But
Yeah, it's awesome.
what is it?
It's a PC. It's a walking. It's more like Portal, where it's a puzzler game,
Oh, dear.
but it's really layered with philosophy in a really good way. So if you like philosophy and Portal,
I like philosophy. I'm terrible at Portal.
okay,
Terrible.
So you should have Greg can take care of the Portal parts.
You explain the philosophy part
You can
to me.
explain the Nietzsche's.
Yeah, okay. That works for me.
Absolutely.
To Nietzsche,
I
their
love
own.
that very much.
That was good.
Nietzsche.
You're good. I like you. Colin, time for our newest, favoritist segment, Worst PlayStation Network Name of the Week. As you know, Colin,
Yes.
you can't change your PlayStation Network name.
I know.
A lot of people complained about this. We started having you write in with your bad names. Then you would beg Shuhei Yoshida to let you change your name. And then it just became you guys go and play games and send us ridiculous names you see. So that's what we have today from Steven. Steven writes in and says, Gray. Swing and a miss right out of the gate. Gray, Colin, and Marty. Beyond.
Beyond.
First of all, let me say that I find myself saying Beyond to myself alone in my car while listening to the podcast, and that's not why I'm writing today. I personally wouldn't change my boring PlayStation Network name, but playing around on Destiny, I have seen some bad ones, notably Fish Fetish and Tart17. That is underscore Tart17. Imagine I gotta bleep that. 1, 2, 3. Anyway. I love the show and we'll miss Colin and Gray. My name is not Gray on Beyond, but trust Marty to hold it down. Shuhei
Like Gray
Yoshida,
Davis.
let these people change their names. Like Gray Dust?
Gray Davis.
Oh, Gray Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew who that is. I just didn't understand you.
Gray Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Podcast Beyond, episode 380. Thank you so much for joining us on this wild ride alongside Marty, Colin, and myself. Remember, Podcast Beyond is a product of IGN.com. It comes out each and every Tuesday as an MP3 and video. You can pick it up on youtube.com/IGN, IGN.com for the MP3 and the video, the PlayStation 4 app for just the video, and then podcast services around the globe. Colin and I no longer work here, and next week, Podcast Beyond episode 381 is our final episode.
The ultimate.
The ultimate episode. After my 8-year run on the show comes to a close. 380 episodes later, 380 weeks later. So make sure you keep up with us on Twitter. I'm Game Over Greggy. Colin is No Taxation. Follow IGN at IGN. Follow Marty at McBiggity, 2 G's, 2 T's.
Yes.
Marty.
Yeah.
Every episode of Podcast Beyond ends in a song and a segment
Yeah.
we call Ryan's Wrap Up. Today's is submitted by Ign the Cat.
Oh.
Friend of the show.
We like that,
Does a
Ign
whole
the
bunch
Cat.
of podcasts on her own. We're always on them. She says, hey there. Just shooting you this message since you were a big help with the promo of Amateur. That was her last album. On Sunday, this is old now anyway, my band Orphan Mothers is releasing their second single, Take, and then parentheses, or Give a Little, off our new album, Hindsight. The album will be out on February 17th and is available to pre-order here. And then it's orphanmothers.bandcamp.com. Anyways, I've attached an early copy of the single. Please don't share it until Sunday. We're past that. Shut up, Eden. Hope you enjoy it. Eden the cat. She said love to.
I've heard
She's
this
cute.
song. I like this song.
Okay, good. I'm
There's a
sorry
music
we're not
video for it
debuting
as well.
This is the first time I've heard a song that we've featured before the episode. I feel like a time traveler.
What about that one time when I posted an episode whatever and it was just a Beastie Boys MP3?
No, I can't stand it. I know you're playing it.
I'm it's great. This water gate. Eden, we love you to death. It's our honor to play your song Take, parentheses, or Give a Little off of your new album, Hindsight. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, go pre-order it at orphanmothers.bandcamp.com. And until next week, Beyond.
Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.